Wolverine, Knights of the Old Republic, and John Carpenter's Toxic Commando. What do these games have in common? They're part of an exclusive club of missing in action games that are floating out there in the ether. We haven't gotten updates on them in a long time. This week on Next Gen Console Watch, we'll be discussing those and even more games that are just missing. We're going to go searching for them. Come join us on the search. That's coming up in just a moment. Welcome back to Next Gen Console Watch, our show following everything happening with the latest gaming hardware. I'm Daemon Hatfield, and this week we are joined once again by IGN's community lead, Jada Griffin. Welcome back.
Hey, Daemon. Thanks for having me back.
And, of course, Ryan McCaffrey, host of Podcast Unlocked, joins us as well.
Always a pleasure.
And it's time to do a check-in that we do every now and then. Check in with these games that have been announced. They're floating out there in the ether somewhere, presumably being worked on, but they don't have release dates, and we haven't gotten any updates on them in a long time. We often call these games MIA, missing in action. And let's start with a really big one, a big PlayStation game revealed in September 2021 at a PlayStation State of Play, but we haven't seen anything officially on it since then. I say officially because unofficially we saw a lot of gameplay that was leaked in December 2023 following a cyber attack on Insomniac, developer of Spider-Man. So we would presumably for this game expect it to be a lot like Spider-Man with more violent gameplay due to Wolverine's tools of the trade. But then it suffered another setback. The director of Wolverine left last October to go work on Perfect Dark, which is actually good news for people like myself and Ryan that are looking forward to Perfect Dark. So with all that said, nothing officially shown of Wolverine outside of a teaser trailer from September 2021. Jada, what are the chances this game is ever released?
I mean, it's coming. There's no way we don't see a Wolverine game from Insomniac Games, one of the most storied and practiced developers on PS5 right now. They've had the best track record on PS5. They are just taking their time with it. Obviously, the cyber attack, the loss of that director, obviously slows things down as they get things back together and figure out their vision and what it's going to look like under new leadership and beating out what the people were saying because of the leaks and such. But it's not like we haven't seen a Wolverine game before in the past. So we've seen, Wolverine isn't like, say, Wonder Woman, which got canceled. We've never seen a standalone Wonder Woman game. We've seen standalone Wolverine games. We kind of have, there's already a somewhat of a blueprint out there for this type of game. And like I said, Insomniac is so great at developing games. I have all the faith in them that they're going to bring this one home and deliver a kick butt game. I'm just hoping it is one of those cultural landmark kind of games, similar to what Spider-Man 2018 was for them, where when Spider-Man 2018 came out, it's like, this is what a Spider-Man game needs to be. This is a huge Sony win, a big win for PlayStation, big win for Spider-Man fans. I'm hoping Wolverine is at that same level, and that's my only concern, is that if it doesn't reach that kind of those heights, that it could be a little bit of a blemish. But I'm optimistic on Wolverine.
All right, so you're confident Wolverine will eventually be released. That's not the only game from that September 2021 State of Play that has gone missing in action. There's also the Knights of the Old Republic remake, which was originally going to be from Aspyr and then has switched developers to Saber. And we haven't got any updates on that outside of this teaser trailer that we're seeing right here. The Saber Interactive said it is alive and well as recently as April last year. That was the last update we got on it. So this one, I don't know. This one I'm much less confident in than Wolverine. Ryan, what do you think the chances are Knights of the Old Republic remake is ever released?
50% at best. Coin flip. I would say, like, if they said it's still in development, I'd do the like Ron Burgundy "I don't believe you" gif. Yeah. I mean, hey, I do hope it's happening. They have to get it right. I know there's been a lot of development turmoil on this. They had initially had one team that had hired on a bunch of original developers from the BioWare days, the original game. But this is, I mean, quite frankly, Daemon, I'm sorry, but Aspyr doesn't have the track record.
I agree.
Especially for a project of this scope and magnitude to give me any confidence whatsoever in either. Go ahead, Jada. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, and now it's Saber Interactive, which has an okay track record, but I haven't seen something to the scale that we are hoping for out of a KOTOR remake.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I've replayed KOTOR in the not super distant past, and it's old. Obviously, it's a 20-year-old game. In fact, now we're going on 21 years this year. But if you're gonna remake it as a modern game for modern audiences, sure, the story is gonna be intact, but like you're gonna have to seriously. It's gonna be a big project to build a Knights of the Old Republic in 2025 to 2030 kind of standards. And so yeah, I am pretty pessimistic on this one. Just being honest, I mean, do I want it to come out? I mean, yes, but only if it's awesome, because if it comes out and if it's a lousy remake or just not up to the standard that the original game set 20 years ago, then I don't really want it to come out. But yeah, pretty pessimistic here.
Yeah, I totally agree. Aspyr is mostly known for porting games. And at the time, Knights of the Old Republic in 2004 was just, the triplest of A's, the biggest, the huge budget role-playing game. And I think a modern day...
BioWare at their peak.
Yeah, exactly. A modern day equivalent would be like Baldur's Gate 3. So I don't really see Aspyr and Saber delivering something on the level of Baldur's Gate 3. So I don't know. I would love to be proven wrong, but I agree with Ryan. I'm not super confident that one will see the light of day. Ryan, what about an Xbox game, Contraband? That's from Avalanche Studios, the makers of the Just Cause series. Contraband is supposed to be a co-op smuggling game set in a fictional 1970s world. We last saw it in this teaser trailer from June 2021.
Yeah. The tweet-friendly summary that you just gave, okay, yeah, on paper, that sounds like it could be the bones of a good game. The developer Avalanche obviously has made a lot of great stuff, the Just Cause games over the years. This is a game... So we've heard nothing since this trailer, as you mentioned, and I think I'm at the point where if this game is not shown in a meaningful way at the Xbox showcase in June, I'm going to assume it's not ever coming out. And again, is that a pessimistic attitude? Probably, but did they announce it too early? Probably, because that was a window of time. 2020 to 2021 was that window where the entire Xbox community was just fed up with Microsoft not shipping anything from first party or shipping exclusives. I know this isn't a first party game, but and so they kind of had to show their hand. That's when they announced Fable, which now we're gonna, we've known about Fable forever, and that's pushed, so that's gonna be a 6-year wait for the gaming public, and this going on 4 years. Yeah, I mean, the fact that we've seen zero on it in terms of actual gameplay means I do feel like 2025 is the put up or shut up year for this game. And I hope it's real because, again, like you said, the premise is neat. And so I'd love to see what it actually is.
Yeah, and the studio has a proven track record, but I think Just Cause 4 was 2018. And I believe they actually did Rage 2. But again, that was 2019, so it's been it's been several years now since they've released anything. What about this is another one that I think even Jada forgot about. This is a game that was revealed in a reveal trailer of June 2023, so a couple years ago, but no updates ever since. And that is John Carpenter's Toxic Commando, which is supposed to be the official logline is team up with your friends to send the sludge god and its horde of things that should never be back to the underworld. And John Carpenter has at least lent his name to the game. If I don't know how involved he is, although John Carpenter is a real gamer. He loves games, plays lots of games, so there's that. This one, I don't know. This is another Saber Interactive game. So in theory, they would be working on this alongside the KOTOR remake. Jada, what do you think? Is this game ever going to come out?
I think we have a better chance of seeing this one than the KOTOR remake. I think, they've shown it more recently. So that means that, hey, there's a little bit more focus on this one currently. It's also, I feel, a smaller project than undertaking KOTOR
exactly, smaller in scope.
Yes. So I honestly, until we were building the run to show for this episode, I completely forgot about this game. It didn't really stand out. I'm not a massive John Carpenter fan, but I'm familiar with most of his works, and I just completely forgot that this one had his name attached to it. And they were making a game on it. So it looks cool from the, I think 90-second trailer we've gotten, or 2-minute trailer. But, it's also, it looks like a lot of things we've gotten in a lot of other games. So I'll be interested to see where this kind of stands out outside of just having John Carpenter's name attached to it.
Yeah, it looks like it could be a Left 4 Dead like or Back 4 Blood, that sort of like multiplayer PvE.
State of Decay,
exactly.
kind of.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know about John Carpenter's Toxic Commando, but whenever you're talking about games that are missing in action, the conversation inevitably will lead to Ubisoft. They've got some notorious ones. They've got this Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake that was announced in September of 2020 and then re-announced last June with a teaser that just said 2026. So at least there's that. At least as of last summer, they're like, we're still working on it, and it's still a couple of years away. And this, of course, remake Prince of Persia: Sands of Time sort of like reignited the Prince of Persia franchise, and had great running, platforming, and parkour and time manipulation. So it's become a very beloved game. People were excited when they first announced the remake, but now it's going on 5 years since then. Ryan, what's your confidence level in Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake?
Well, yeah, this one's been through some hell. The developer was changed. They took this from, I believe it was their team in India, and brought it back to Ubisoft Montreal, who started over, and hence the re-announcement. So I'm surprised, honestly, that Ubisoft just hasn't canceled this, just given how much time and inevitably money has already gone into it. But don't get me wrong, I'm glad they haven't, because I do think that this could, like, mechanically, gameplay-wise, I think the Sands of Time would still hold up in present day, and putting a brand new, modern technology framework around it would be, I think it could absolutely shine. And so I'm glad that they've stuck with this. I guess the fun bet to place would be, which Ubisoft remake will come out first, this or the Splinter Cell remake? And I'm not sure. I don't know if anybody wins that bet, but yeah, no, I do think this will come out, and I'm glad that Ubisoft is sticking with this. This is a great game. It's my favorite of all the modern Prince of Persia. Actually, I'll just go further than that. I mean, it's my favorite Prince of Persia game ever. Damon, you and I are old enough. We played the original Prince of Persia, the timed 60-minute game when we were kids. And Sands of Time, I think, is just, it is the peak of the series historically, and I'm glad they're taking their time with it, and I do think it'll happen. And 2026 weirdly isn't that far away anymore, so we'll see.
Well, being surprised that Ubisoft hasn't canceled a game, there's always and forever Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Hey, you know what? They've finally released Skull and Bones after ages of delays and stuff.
And it was fine.
I think, yeah, it was fine. I think Ubisoft definitely falls into that sunken cost fallacy, where they're like, we've already invested this much, we've just got to see it through. And I think that's kind of the case for Beyond Good and Evil. I think they've invested so much time and energy into this, and they know fans are feverishly waiting for this sequel. I want it to come out just like the Sands of Time remake. I really hope both of these do release, but man, it is going to be so different than anything they have shown for this game in the past. Like what we're seeing in this pre-alpha footage that's showing on screen, I just can't imagine it looks anything remotely like this when the actual game launches.
Yeah, and just what's surprising to me that this is still apparently in development is that the original Beyond Good and Evil, while a great game, was not a commercial success. It's like it's a like the textbook definition of a cult classic. So like I just don't like when this game, if it eventually arrives, like what's the audience that would be there for this game, and how could they possibly recoup their costs for a game that's been in development for decades now?
Yeah, Damon, do you have the note in your notes when this was announced?
It was officially announced in 2017, but in the 2000s there were it was a trailer that leaked, so it was at least being worked on back in the 2000s.
But even since 2017, we're coming up on 8 years. That's absurd.
Yeah.
And no, this one I will print off our show notes and eat them live on the air if this game ever ships. I just don't see it.
I've got a 1 in 4 chance. It's a real long shot of this one ever seeing light of day. at this point.
It's like if they actually were able to finish the KOTOR remake and deliver it, I know there's an audience there for that. I don't know what audience would be waiting for Beyond Good and Evil 2. Now, Jada, Capcom will every once in a while release kind of something kind of new and quirky. They had the Mitsugami Path of the Goddess last year,
and Exoprimal.
They had, which I know you were a fan of. A few years ago, they announced this game Pragmata, which is supposed to be, this is from Capcom, an all-new action-adventure title that depicts a near-future dystopian world on the moon through a deeply profound story and setting. That was revealed in June 2020, although it was indefinitely delayed in June 2023, and here we are in 2025. So this one I'm not too confident in. How about you?
I think this one's low odds as well for me. I foresee Pragmata being probably retooled and turned into something else. I think Capcom kind of takes the A&R and whatever like things they were practicing with building this game and release something else that uses the technology, the character models and such, and they're just like, yeah, we're not doing Pragmata. That would be my assumption right now. It does have a very cool different aesthetic compared to most of their games, so I would like to see Pragmata eventually get a release. But I it's kind of like a final nail in the coffin sometimes for games. Yeah,
that seems to me like they'll put it on the back burner while they work on other things, and if inspiration happens to strike someone, maybe they could spin it up again. Ryan, there's a game you and I have been looking forward to for a long time. It's called Replaced. That's the cinematic, retro-futuristic platformer. Amazing pixel art. An Inside-like sort of a cinematic platformer that's been great. Of course, it's partly the team is partly based in the Ukraine. So there's very obvious reasons why that game is taking quite a long time. We got a lengthy gameplay overview last August. So this one, this one will definitely come out, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if it comes out this year. How about you?
Yeah, I think this is the first game of all the ones we've talked about already that any of us have actually played. I've played this game.
Yeah.
And it's really good. I think I've gushed about this game on this show before. I'll just take the chance to do it again. My spidey sense on this, and Daemon, I've been at this for a long time. I don't have 100% success rate when my spidey sense goes off, but I think this game has 10 out of 10 potential. Keyword potential. I've only played a slice of it, but I just got that, my spidey sense went off when I played this game. I mean, and it did even from when we all originally saw it a few years ago, and actually playing it, it even made me more optimistic because playing it showed me, which the gameplay walkthrough demonstration that you referenced has since shown publicly, there's even more to this game. It's deeper than we originally thought. It's not just a cinematic platformer, as you mentioned. There's some RPG elements to it. This looks phenomenal. I am in touch with the development studio directly on this because I think they like that I keep talking it up every chance I get. But I'm really excited about it, like you are, Daemon. So. Yeah, I don't have any insight as to when, but they've certainly delayed this a couple times already. But is this going to be the year? Yes, hopefully. But I think if it were going to be in the first half, we probably would have heard already.
Yeah.
So again, just where we are, we're into March already, for goodness sake. So I think if this is coming in 2025, it's going to be in the second half. And if that's the case, great. If they need to take till 26, I really think the potential for this is so good that take all the time you want. I've played it. I know it's real. I know it's got this really high ceiling. I mean, when I played it played great other than the frame rate was horrible, which they acknowledge. We're still working on optimization in the frame rate. So, very confident it's going to come out. I'm not super confident it'll necessarily be this year, but I'm optimistic that it could still be this year. Put it that way.
Yeah.
This is one of those games that showed up in a showcase, and I was like, "This is going on a wish list." Immediately, just the distinct look of the game. I was like, "I've got to play this."
Yeah, this has Daemon game written all over it. Feeling really good about Replaced, but swinging back the other direction is The Wolf Among Us 2, which that was. It's the long-awaited sequel to one of Telltale's most beloved adventure games. Telltale, sort of petered out during the 2010s, and I think, it was sort of brought back under new ownership. But then it was we saw it in March 2023, or in March 23, it was delayed into 2024. But then Telltale reportedly laid off most of its staff in September 2023. So that's you can't make a game without having a staff to make it.
Yeah, I don't know if this just ends up being one of those casualties of just studios going up and down too much to have a consistent just workflow to get a game like this released. And the big thing is because it's so beloved, fans have very high expectations for what a Wolf Among Us 2 would look like. So I would hope that it would just not get pushed out the door without having the proper attention and care that the fans deserve from a game like this. So I don't know, with the staff layoffs and such, I put this one pretty low. I'd say this is like a 1 in 3 chance of releasing.
Oh, not even. It's just this is not happening. This game's not happening.
This one we have to call it.
The delay, if you guys mentioned the staffing situation, the staff cuts. If this were really going to come out, we would have gotten some sort of public reassurance from the people working on it. Like whether that's the form of a new trailer or a development blog or the radio silence is deafening with this. This is not happening, which saddens me because I think The Wolf Among Us is arguably the original Telltale's best game. I mean, it's right there with Walking Dead Season 1, Tales from the Borderlands Season 1. I mean, it's right at the top of the list for me in terms of the original Telltale stuff. And I'd love to see a Wolf Among Us 2, but there's no way. I'm not 100% saying it's canceled. I'm 99%. Yeah. I'm only leaving the door open 1% that this ever is coming out.
Yeah, if it were to be finished, I don't think it would be finished by Telltale. Someone else would have to pick up the pieces. And finally, probably the most notorious missing action game of recent years, the game that fans cross their fingers for every time there's a new direct or state of play or any sort of showcase. Everyone is hoping to get some information about Hollow Knight Silksong. This is, of course, a sequel to the award-winning Metroidvania. The last time we saw this was a 60-second trailer in November 2023. But there's always some kind of... the developers always seem to be sort of cheekily hinting at that they are still working on it. This one, it will come out at some point when it's eventually finished. Any doubters here?
No. There's no way they don't deliver on the huge fan base for this one and the demand overall for this game. I like Hollow Knight, not a fanatic like some of the Hollow Knight fans that are out there. Like every single chat for every stream that I moderate this pops up no less than 100 times. Maybe even 1,000 with how many people we have in our viewers. But I mean, this is definitely coming out. We've seen gameplay, which is more than we've seen for a lot of the other games we talked about today. So that already says hey, things are coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you're ending on a high note, Daemon. I mean, heck, we didn't even talk about we could keep going. There's Everwild, there's The Last Night. We could absolutely keep going, but I'm glad you're ending on a high note because it's definitely coming. This is just they're polishing it to perfection, and it's gonna happen. So that makes me happy. And I will say that I would guarantee that at least one game in here has made every single viewer be a different game for each person. Maybe there's been at least one game in this episode where people went, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that."
Yeah. But it does occur to me, as we go through these games, there are examples here from third-party publishers as well as PlayStation and Xbox. But it seems to me that Nintendo is able to avoid this problem of announcing a game and then forcing people to just wait for years and years without any sort of updates.
Well, Metroid Prime was that game, Metroid Prime 4, but they actually showed it to us last year, finally. So they're off the list.
Well, dear viewers, we want to know which of these missing in action games do you think will be released first? We're not asking, which one are you most looking forward to? Which one do you think will realistically be released first? Make sure to vote at IGN.com the day this episode goes live, and we'll share the results with you next episode, just like we can with last episode's poll. What's your favorite open world game this generation? And these are some of the closest results I've seen in all the years we've been doing this show. So first of all, basically tied for number one are Cyberpunk 2077 and Elden Ring. It's a matter of 1.3 percentage points off for those two. I'm a little surprised that Cyberpunk just barely edges out Elden Ring, just because Elden Ring immediately launched to universal acclaim, and Cyberpunk had to take a little bit of a journey to get to where it received universal acclaim. But obviously, both great games today. And then basically 3 games are tied for second place. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hogwarts Legacy, and Horizon Forbidden West are all right there at 12% with just 0.1 or 3% percentages off. What I think is crazy about that is that Horizon Forbidden West is toe-to-toe with Final Fantasy and Harry Potter. Like, what an accomplishment there. I love it too. I
love Forbidden West.
I do
that
too.
World is fantastic. The giant robots and dinosaurs and machines that you're fighting, the water physics in Forbidden West, just top notch. Best in the industry, in my opinion. I'm
happy to see it too. I was just surprised. So yeah, those are some really close results. Very, very interesting to me. All right, well, that's about going to do it for this episode. Ryan, what are you talking about on Unlocked this week?
Oh, it's a sort of Jekyll and Hyde situation on Unlocked this week. We've got some really awesome stuff. We're talking about how much we love Split Fiction, how much we love the preview build of Claire Obscure Expedition 33, how much we're loving Monster Hunter Wilds, and then on the other side, not so good with WB and the shuttering of 3 studios, including Monolith Productions. We talk about whether or not the Nemesis system that they patented will ever see the light of day in any game ever again.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Jada, were you on Podcast Beyond this week?
I was. This week we talked about a bunch of things as well. We kicked it off with some Shrek news. Shrek, the changes in Shrek. Somebody even showed up with a donkey mask, so show up for that. But we also talked about Tony Hawk 3 and 4 and how Doom Slayer is a perfect fit to join the roster for these new remakes. A little bit about the Twisted Metal cancellation, how much I love Split Fiction, because I absolutely love that. And also the Forza 5 and Days Gone Remaster coming. And one last little bonus thing, we started a new thing called Game Club on Beyond, where we're all playing Batman Arkham Asylum. We're revisiting that classic 2009 game that put Batman back on the map for video games. So for all our next-gen console watch listeners, play along with us and join us in the Beyond column on IGN.
Good stuff. Viewers, listeners, check out the latest episodes of Podcast Unlocked and Podcast Beyond, wherever you get your podcasts. And thank you to both Ryan and Jada for joining me today. Thank you to everyone working behind the scenes to make this episode possible. My name is Daemon. We'll be back next week with more on the latest gaming hardware news. We'll see you then. This episode of Next Gen Console Watch was produced by yours truly, Damon Hatfield and Jobert Atienza. Technical direction is by Jobert Atienza, with technical production by Marian Franzen and Amir Rakib. Audio engineering is handled by Amir Rakib. Post-production editing is by Jobert Atienza, and graphic design is by Justin Vachon. Next Gen Console Watch is an IGN production and part of the Geek Media Network.